Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bahashem Kodash, double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us this truth. Shalom and salutations to all the brothers up pushing the word of truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. To the Aquat that are listening, learning, being a pillar of rest, the 144,000 and 1/3, the hopeful elect of Israel, the Lord Yeshua. I usually wait until Tuesday to do Wars and Rumors of War Tuesday, but this information, which is all wars and rumors of war, it screams out for its own day. So we're going to do War and Rumors of War Tuesday today. What we do is we read Matthew 24:6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Right? The famous quote, right? See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. And then we go in to these different versions. We read the different versions, we get the differences. You will hear of wars and rumors. So we got wars and rumors of war. In the NLT, we have wars and threats. Okay? Rumors and threats. Right? And then we scroll down, and now we got reports. Rumors, threats, reports, and what? And news of battles far away. That being said, what the hell was Nate talking? What is Nate talking about? Okay, so what's going on is Israel, the Israelis, shoot up the embassy and kill, murder, do what they do. In response to that, Iran launches 300 missiles and bitch slaps them by taking their boat from them. Okay, so what is Israel's response going to be to 300 missiles? Is it going to be 2 target drones that got shot down and now we can all go home? No. Israel is going to respond like Israel responds. So what the story Nate is telling is what he's saying is the real story, the real attack, and what happened. Kind of like a Bay of Pigs kind of situation is what it sounds like. So Nate is going to tell a story about what they say really happening, and it involves nuclear weapons, it involves EMPs, it involves the real World War III and what's really going on. What we're being told and the watered down information that we're getting third hand is just terrible, and we know that doesn't even resonate as true. So I'm gonna let Nate speak from here. He's gonna tell the real story. Then he's gonna go into what Scott Ritter said, what Cy Hirsch said, what these different pundits are saying, letting you know that they set these pundits up to keep us confused, right? For this shell game that's being played. So I have a hunch that whatever we're watching right now is a coordinated effort at some sort of wag the dog between all parties. And I'm talking about the West, the East, the big three, China, Russia, United States, Israel. They're all in cahoots right now, but then it's going to spiral. Somebody's going to throw a low blow, and then the free-for-all, then the haymakers start. So I'm going to let Nate talk, and I got to let him speak through the John Ritter part, and then we'll bring it to an end. But this is completely, this is hot off the press. This is big news. This is really, it's a scoop, really, if I know what this word scoop
met with a lot of resistance from the open source intelligence community. He says, it will be great to know what Cy Hirsch hears from his Beltway sources. Here we go. Israel initially chose to respond with extreme force An F-35 loaded with a nuclear bomb. Yes, an F-35 loaded with a nuclear bomb was sent east over Jordan. The mission caused a high-altitude detonation over Iran that would provoke a surge in the high-capacity power lines, crippling Iran's electrical grid, as well as disabling all electronic devices, an EMP attack. Now, that part is very plausible, okay? It's extremely plausible. Some people are trying to say online that no, the F-35 wouldn't be able to get it up at a high enough altitude. Absolutely it would.
It's extremely plausible. If you understand Bibi Netanyahu, like we, the men of the Lord, have been watching him for the last 15 years, you understand what this guy, how he moves and how he gets down. The story that they gave us, well, we launched a minuscule attack and it was thwarted. They shut down the drones and now we're all going to go home. We're going to all let it go. That's bullshit. Okay. What Nate is describing right now about loading up a F-35 with a nuke and they're going to do something with it, that is Netanyahu. That is the Israelis. That's a rip. That resonates true. Okay, not that bullshit that we were given. So is it a report? Is it a rumor? Is it a threat? Is it news? Is it all the above? We don't know what to think at this point, right? Now, I'm going to let him finish the story, and then I'll explain what happened as far as how the angels are holding back the four winds, okay?
Because in this case, you would want this to be isolated to a region. Because if you put that thing up too high, you're blacking out the entire Middle East. So indeed, an F-35 would be able to put this bomb at the altitude required to do an EMP that would likely just black out the line of sight. That would include, in Iran, most of their nuclear facilities, their bases, their major cities. It could be mostly limited. I'm not going to say that that they'd have to position it with pinpoint position to ensure that it didn't affect the surrounding countries. But that is a fair argument right there. If he would have just left it there and he said, well, they decided to call it off at the last minute, I would have believed that, okay? Because we all know what happened the day before with the electronic action messages and the Skymaster exercise, which many people, myself included, viewed as a smokescreen for something bigger that was going on. And recall, 48 hours before this attack, I interviewed Joel Skousen. We didn't release that video until the day after, but it was actually recorded 2 or 3 days before. In that video, Joel Skousen was right. He said that Israel was likely going to do some sort of Pyrrhic attack that would be very low intensity, would send a message, but wasn't escalatory. I proposed to Joel in that video, I said, but what if they utilize an EMP weapon over Iran? And he said, as much as he doesn't agree with that, it is very plausible, okay? Because this is the only real weapon they have in their arsenal. They can't really use a nuke. For starters, it would be frowned upon in the international community. But if they framed it as an E-bomb, as they've been trying to, and they said that the residual effect was a nuclear detonation and there wasn't any immediate casualties because it was detonated at such a high enough altitude, minimal fallout, so they could argue that, well, we did this in response. It was the only way we could neutralize the Iranian nuclear program, okay, by using this EMP weapon, which wouldn't impact surrounding countries. So very plausible. However, he goes on to say, however, as the Israeli F-35 was leaving Jordanian airspace, it was shot down by the Russian Air Force. Now this...
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is this news? Is this a rumor? Is this a threat? What the fuck? They shot down the jet that was carrying the nuke. Okay. Now I know that, well, in order for the nuke to detonate, it has to be da-da-da-da, and it has to be... They shot down a nuke on the runway? This is crazy, right? But it sounds more like the truth than what they tried to tell us. Okay, I'm gonna let it play, and then I'll try to explain what I believe is going on in the spirit. Okay, because it's not time yet. The men of the Lord, we know that the charagma has to have its day in the sun, and that hasn't happened yet. They're still laying the groundwork for the infrastructure. So it's taking a little while longer. So we know that this war's got to stretch out. It can't all just happen overnight. So anyway.
Part where everybody's like, come on, Pepe, are you on mushrooms? Are you on LSD? What's going on here? Hence, the publicized version of the Israeli counter-response was such a travesty. In the end, all sides decided not to publicize the real news to de-escalate what could well turn into World War III.
Look at that look on his face. What he just said was, after the 300 rockets and the bitch slap with the boat, Israel got real mad. They said, nigga, go get the nukes. We're doing something. So they loaded up a nuke on a jet. Either they were going to do an EMP or they were going to just drop, right? And they say that something bad was going to happen, so Russia shot down the jet. Now, what are we to believe? I believe it, okay? I believe it. Now, I believe it, and I'll explain why. Let me see if he has anything left to say, because the look on his face right now. If you understand what we're talking about, okay, we're talking about nuclear weapons. We're talking about playing, or we're at war, right? We are at war. If what he's saying is true, the world is at war and using nuclear weapons now, right now. They had to shoot down a jet that was loaded with a nuke because they were about to use it. Okay? And now that it went awry for whatever reason, now everybody, oh, well, cooler heads, we were tripping, right? Then they threw out some lame story and everybody's rolling with it right now. But wait a minute. Bibi is still crazy. He's still crazy. So how long before he feels, see, because this story is getting out. How long ago did that happen? 3 days now? So when the truth gets out and these guys are looking bad, like the bitches that they are, they're going to want to nuke somebody. So we're going to keep our eye on this. I'm going to let him talk for a little more, and then we'll get the Angels holding back the forward.
Now, in terms of the economic and military ties between Iran and China, they are ironclad. Russia is sending Iran Su-35s, I think 24 of them next week. They are sending and helping them build out their own version of the S-400 missile defense system. They have a variety of different military contracts and relationships. China is heavily dependent and will be even more so dependent on Iranian oil in the future. So we know that they have strategic cooperation. That doesn't mean that Russia would be willing, when they haven't intervened at all up until this point, to shoot down an F-35. Number one, that means they'd be able to do it in the first place. They'd be able to identify it and shoot it down. And also that they would actually do it is crazy, considering they're not necessarily adversaries with the Israelis. While they are more allies with the Iranians, their relationship with Israel is very complicated, okay? As much as they want a Palestinian state, as much as they believe that what's happening in Gaza is unjustified, and they've spoken out against the Israelis, and typically Russian media is anti-Israeli in many respects, by and large, they still haven't engaged.
Now he's about to go into the Scott Ritter aspect, which is information, whether the information is credible, rumor, threat, innuendo. Salakia. Get rid of this. Bear with me.
Engage in any hostilities, and both sides, both the Israelis and the Russians, have shown restraint in partaking in the conflict. They don't turn on their S-400s in Syria to shoot down Israeli planes, so why would they do it in this instance to prevent Iran? However, what I will say about all of this has been criticized by Scott Ritter and other open source intelligence analysts in the community, and rightly so. However, I will say that where there is smoke, there is fire. There is probably some truth to this, with the exception of the Russians shooting it down part. I do think that this will be a move that they could potentially play. Right now, anytime the Israelis aren't in the bunkers waiting for the bombs to come in, they're outside protesting Netanyahu. One of the biggest protests I ever seen in Israel tonight, seen video footage, I should say, was happening tonight against Netanyahu, just days after everybody was cowering in the bunkers because they thought Iran was going to do a wholesale attack. So this incentivizes Netanyahu to do another provocative act that's going to justify more war with surrounding countries, which of course is going to require some level of martial law, be it imposed by the government or be it self-imposed by the people. This is a deadly serious accusation. Now, again, I'm not saying it's true. And in fact, when you really play the tape through here, basically what he's saying is that hence the publicized version of the Israeli counter-response was such a travesty. In the end, all sides decided not to publicize the real news to de-escalate what could well turn into World War III. Look, if the Israelis attempted this once, they're not going to stop there. Now they got the funding, and now what Mike Johnson, this guy who reminds me of Kevin Spacey, like some weird, creepy Kevin Spacey type guy. I'm sure they have receipts on this guy. Anyways, he's basically flipped like a light switch all of a sudden. People are scratching their heads wondering why. He's basically now declared a holy war against Iran. And they've basically now bundled all these things together. So it really is a world war. He referred to them as the axis of evil. Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, and the president of Iran, who I always forget his name, okay? Khamenei, I believe it is. Anyways, so this is a sign that if they were willing to commit to this or even consider it once, don't just think because the Russians, if we even believe this, that they shot it down. Maybe it was more of the effect of the Russians are sharing their ISR with the Iranians. They're helping them, and the Iranians maybe had this thing clocked, and they had to turn back. They had to, cancel the mission or something like that. Maybe there was something else going on here. I think, again, though, Pepe Escobar is not the kind of guy. I know, even when you look at him, he's going to seem like the gonzo journalist type. I think he's a cool guy. I'd like to have him on the channel. I'm not, saying anything here, which is, I'm just saying if you just look at him once, he kind of looks like a bit of a wild man. Just kind of if you looked at me, a guy in a t-shirt, you'd like, who the hell is this guy talking, right? But Pepe is somebody I would trust to tell me what's going on. And he's been quoted on Zero Hedge and other alternative media news agencies. I know Zero Hedge is questionable and they have their political biases and all that stuff, but even Zero Hedge is not running with something or someone unless there's some good credibility to it, okay? So now Scott Ritter came out against him, and all I'll say about Ritter,
why is this?
You're going to talk about Ritter. I'm going to let him talk.
I'm fully aware of his,
Indiscretions.
how would we frame this? Because some people think he was framed for this sexual offense charge, soliciting sex from a minor. Some people said it was because of his work that he did as a nuclear inspector in Iraq and found no weapons of mass destruction and the activism surrounding that. I'm not going to speak to that. I always have to provide that disclaimer because there's always going to be some idiot in the comment section who pipes up and reminds everybody about that whole thing. We all know his history, okay? Nonetheless, Ritter is a very astute intelligence analyst. But what I will say about Ritter and what I will say about Escobar, Ritter came out and challenged Escobar respectfully on this tweet. He basically said that Escobar has written a post where he reports that an Israeli F-35 carrying a nuclear weapon was shot down over Jordan by the Russian fighter. While I respect Pepe as a journalist, his source is wrong. Israel would never take such a precipitous action. Not only would it provide public acknowledgement by Israeli nuclear weapons capability, thereby putting Israel in open violation of existing agreements between it and the U.S., which, who cares? As if, who gives a shit? As if Israel and the U.S. are going to be concerned about violating an agreement between them when they're one of the most heavily funded countries in terms of weapons and just resources
and while they're openly and blatantly thumbing their nose at the world as they conduct a genocidal campaign in everybody's face in 2024. And they're worried about anything else. That doesn't make any sense.
Next to Ukraine, okay? And we know that they have nuclear weapons. Everybody, it's just an unwritten rule. So it would put also Israel in violation of the 1968 Outer Space Treaty. No, it wouldn't. Because as I've already said, they wouldn't have to detonate it in outer space. Because you wouldn't want to detonate it in outer space. You detonate it in outer space, you're blocking out a good part of the Middle East if you do that. We're talking about an EMP. Okay, the effects, depending on the yield, could be very far reaching. One of these things could take out the entire eastern seaboard grid. So to say that you'd have to go into outer space, that's that's a bullshit point. That it would be in violation of existing agreements. Nobody gives a fuck, to be brutally honest. So I think these are bullshit arguments from Scott. Moreover, the scenario described make no sense in terms of the characterization of the weapons involved, both in terms of the alleged Russian-Israeli engagement and what Israel would hope happens regarding EMP. I agree maybe with that part to an extent. Now, would this wreak havoc on the Iranian grid? Yes, it would bring down like the majority of the Iranian power grid. Maybe not the military stuff, because of course Iran, who's been preparing for Israel to use the Samsung option, would likely have already hardened its grid for that potentiality. Now, would it cause a lot of damage in the long term? What it wouldn't do is cause an immediate amount of civilian casualties. And the Israelis would be able to say, hey, there's no immediate civilian casualties. It was a high yield nuke. We just wanted to fry their power grid. But just like sanctions, okay, it will cause a lot of post-acute symptoms. It will cause a lot of death and destruction in the long run, because to rebuild transformers and a lot of their critical infrastructure would also be fried. A lot of their oil manufacturing and refinement capability would be destroyed, or at least for a long term suspended. This would completely destroy their economy. It would probably throw them into chaos because people would revolt within the government, and this would be a great way to cause a civil war.
I'm going to end it right there. The gist of what's going on is there's a lot going on that we're not privy to, and it's dealing with World War III, which is basically knocking at the door, right? And I mean, those are terms that are used every day. But if this happened, World War III is just on hold. And where they have it right now, I believe, is where they want it. They got everybody's attention. It's not moving forward like it was. But if this happened right here, like he just said, it's only a matter of time before they try it again. Okay? And I'm surprised that they haven't. As this continues, it says an hour ago, so this is fresh, right? This is fresh off the presses. So it's going to take a while for this to, get out there, and when it does, that's a big black eye for Israel, one way or the other. Okay, and they're going to feel the need to right a specific wrong. Okay, so if Russia shot down the F-35, that's the angels saying you're not going to use a nuke for an EMP or anything, not yet. Okay, so and how do we show that? Let's see. Holding back. Let's see. See if I can find this. Holding back the four winds of the earth. Revelation 7:1. And after these things, I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, right? Holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. Okay? What are they doing? They're holding back the destruction, right? holding back the four winds, right? Let's see what's next. Let's see. Slocky, bear with me for just a moment. See if I can find something in my head, and it might not be accurate, so give me a moment. Seven and two. Slovakia. I don't see anything else, so this must be it. Back real quick. 1. Mm-hmm. This is really what I was looking for. So anyway, the point being made is that let's see, let's go here. The Prince of Persia. Went over this the other day. Slovakia, bear with me. Yeah. We went over this the other day. Let's see. The angels prophesied of Persia, Greece. I'll just read this real quick. This is Daniel 10 and 10. And behold, a hand touched me and set me upon my knees and upon the palms of my hands. And he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak unto thee, and stand upright. For unto thee am I now sent. And when he had spoken this word unto me, I stood trembling. Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand and to chasten thyself before the Most High, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. But the prince of the kingdom, here's the point, but the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall what shall befall thy people in the latter days. For yet the vision is for many days. So what's going on here is the angel that went to assist Daniel, or to bring him a message, right? he was held up because the Prince of Persia was a strong personality. And so the angel had to work with him overtime, right, to achieve his mission, whatever mission the Most High sent him on. And he actually had to get assistance from the Archangel Michael. So when you have situations like Israel has to respond, right, and they got to go drop a nuke, right, on either on Iran or shoot off an EMP on Iran, and get the speed this World War III up. Well, that's why the angels are on the four corners of the earth, holding back the destruction. Okay, so because it's not time yet, there are other prophecies that have to take place before that situation happens, right? So that's the point where we're at right now. So you can imagine if things like F-35s are getting shot down, that is like the Enola Gay. That would be like the Enola Gay, right? Dropping Fat Man or Little Boy. It's that important. Okay. So what were the angels doing when the Enola Gay was delivering Fat Man and Little Boy? They didn't hold back that destruction. They probably saw to it that nothing stopped the bomber from reaching its mark. Okay, so you have to understand that in the spirit world there are things going on, and then in the physical world, the result of what's going on in the spirit world is what we see. All right, so whatever response that Israel didn't give the other day is explained by Nate, by Pepe Escobar, and Scott Ritter is trying to denounce it, telling you he can't be trusted, right? Which takes you straight to the rumor, the threat, the the metaphor, the deception, if you will. And the scripture clearly tells you that this is going to be about deception. You will soon hear about wars and threats of wars, right? You will hear of war and rumors of wars. Well, that's what we're hearing, too. This is huge. This is pure wars and rumors of wars, is it not? What a fantastic story, right?
Within Iran would be to first use an EMP. So I don't agree with Scott Ritter on this post. And I do think that if you were to put out some information like this, that you would want a gatekeeper to come out. And I am very suspicious that a lot of these intel guys on X in particular are gatekeepers.
They all are. Okay. That's why they're out there. That's why they're not being taken down. They were dispatched to do what they're doing and to continue to cause confusion, right?
Because when all that emergency action message stuff was going on a couple nights ago, I never got in on the whole controversy. I wasn't telling people this is the end of the world and this is it. There were some channels out there, not to say they were doing that, but they were saying, hey, this could be, DEFCON 2, DEFCON 1 level stuff. I never said that. I just said, hey, emergency action messages, they happen all the time. They're happening now today in higher amounts. The guys who pay attention to that stuff, I personally can't do it. It's like watching grass grow for me. But the guys who do pay attention say this is significant. But there are exercises, so it might just be an exercise. I did say that those activities and exercises, not only is every war from here on in going to start with an exercise, but they can also be a smokescreen. They can create more confusion and just put more signals up in the air to create confusion amongst our...
Confusion. That's what we're seeing right now. This is what they want. Okay. But here's what we know. There's a sequence of events. Revelation 13 and 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a charagma in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save that he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. This has to happen before World War III is in your face. And when I mean that, I mean that you're involved in it. You're actively shooting back. Okay, so this has to happen. How are we looking for that? Let's see. Elon Musk has competition. Spell it right. Competitive. Compet. How do you spell competition? Competitive. T-I-T. With Neuro. Where's my spelling at today? That's not, let me see, I guess that's not enough info on it, right? Let's see. Let's go. Musk kill Bates. What's this guy's name? Amazon. Amazon is Bezos, Jeff Bezos. Race to unlock your brain. What, a year ago? This is a year ago. Race to unlock your brain. Elon Musk's Neuralink versus Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos' Synchron. This is a year ago? I thought they just started this. Why Elon Musk, Bill Gates invest in brain implants? So this is not new. And the point I'm making right now is days ago, right? It was only days ago that they're bringing this information out, that the three of these billionaires are pushing this, right? And the point that I'm making is that, right, there's your, in their forehead, there's your Neuralink right there. So the point being made is that this has to happen, right, before World War III. Okay. So we know that it's going to take a while. So the men of the Lord were able to, right, see spiritually what's actually going on here. Right? What's going on here spiritually? Well, the angels are holding back the destruction because it's not time yet. Other prophecies have to come to pass first, and then shall the end come. Right? You got to endure till the end. The end, you got to make it through. Ain't no pre-trib rapture or anything. No, you got to make it all the way through the end. And World War III is part of that end. part of this end is what you see right here. This has to happen. This is what John saw on the Isle of Patmos. He saw everybody. He saw all of these billionaires pushing this product. All right, so with that, we hope that the elect ratified you, brothers and sisters. Shalom.